my whole process has been one step at a time. One of my goals in life is just balance and everything in moderation. And then I would say another thing is just like finding joy and happiness in the journey and the process. I think if you're missing that part, no goal is really worth it if the day-to-day is so, if you can't find the joy and the happiness in that. Because I think when it doesn't matter, you win a medal, you win a tournament, that lasts, just for like a little bit. But everything that you built and you put into that, those are the defining moments. That's what kind of made you that player that was capable of winning something, winning that title. So I think it's really important to be proud of the process and proud of the journey and what you do, like day in and day out, the little stuff, because that's what makes you, a champion at the end of the day, when you're able to use those skills to showcase it and actually win something.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Better at Beach Volleyball podcast, where all we talk about and all we discuss is ways to get better at the game. And in the end, just become a better human, a better person. And so if you're looking for volleyball tips, tricks, and knowledge from pros and coaches, this is the place to be. Today, on our video / podcast, we have Sarah Schermerhorn, AVP FIVB Pro. She's got a medal under her belt, and she's got a high of a second, which is a life dream of a finish for 99.9999% of everyone out there. And I'm sure she is ready to get her first this year. It's a real pleasure to have her on. She's helped us with our camps in Florida when we run our Better at Beach Volleyball camps, 7-day training vacations, and the reviews from our players were just that she was crazy fantastic as a person and a coach. So without further ado, Sarah, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Hey, thanks, Mark. Appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to chat some volleyball stuff with you.
Heck yeah. You are partnering now with Corinne Quagel, and you are on your way to Doha in a wee bit. But what was your day like today? Like, if we were just diving in right into the life of Sarah, what was your day like today? What did you do?
Today. So we had an 8 a.m. practice this morning. So we were up, quick little breakfast on the court at 7:30, setting up. Our coach is currently in Brazil right now. Mm-hmm. So we bring our speaker, Victor Gomez. So he's coached me for the past, ever since I started. He was one of my first coaches. But he's currently in Brazil, and with COVID, he was able to kind of go online and be like an online coach. So we go down, we set up, he sends us a Zoom link. We set up our cameras, and he's able to be live with us at practice.
I think I saw Corinne in Florida actually doing one of those sessions last time I was there. She just had the camera set up, a little like kind of speaker Bluetooth attached to it. And it's so cool. I mean, maybe we could get into that later, but the idea that you can set up a camera, you can coach literally, like you can do online coaching live. And, we do a version of that, not quite as in detail as you guys do, where we're actually at the practices, but it's possible for a coach to be there no matter where they are in the world and see what you're doing, guide your practice, and start noticing things. So what's that experience like?
Yeah, it's been really cool. So I guess at the start of COVID, Victor was back in Brazil, and we had there was definitely a learning curve, I would say, but he's been doing it for about 2 years now, and he's got his 2 camera angles that he likes to have, and it's pretty cool because he can set up in his room, and he's got 2 monitors. He can sit there with a notepad and take stats, and he can give just direct feedback back to us. So it's awesome. Been pretty incredible. Yeah. And he's a really special coach. So he's got lots of good tidbits that he throws in.
What do you think his best asset as a coach? Like, if you were to say, like, this is the one thing that I appreciate Victor the most for.
He's got a lot of good ones, but I would say the best thing that he's good at is kind of incorporating the mental training into practices. Like a lot of coaches talk about it, or the game is so important, but he brings in kind of different techniques that consciously, our practices are more, I guess, like frontal lobe conscious thinking, so that when we kind of get into the match situation, we're operating a little bit more smoothly and just kind of in his own.
Now, is he guiding you in terms of, hey, this is how you focus, hey, this is how you problem solve, or this is how you communicate? Like, which type of mental coaching is the?
He kind of touches on all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And a lot of what we practice is, it's working on ourselves. It's working on, how we handle our emotions, how we deal with certain situations. Obviously, you've got, volleyball is a very intimate sport with your partner. So how you communicate with your partner is very important. But it's nice. I feel like Corinne, Victor, and I, we all kind of, understand, where he's coming from. Not to say everything's perfect and everybody gets along 100% all the time, but just having the understanding
if everybody's
and that
pushing to go forward, like there's no way you get along if everybody's trying to be their best,
Right. But it's just that trust in the process and trust in each other and knowing that, if we follow the process and, it'll all come together.
Okay. So you guys are kind of working through the relationships. It seems, I don't know, social media's interesting, weird, fun. It seems like you and Corinne just get along.
We've spent a lot of time together since we've partnered up. Me being in Florida, her being in California. We've just kind of made it work where we're practicing together a lot. I think my husband has seen Corinne about every time that he's seen me.
Wow.
Just because, but it's all good. Yeah, we get on. It kind of feels like a sister. It's kind of just like she fits right in to the family. Awesome. Her parents are awesome. Her mom plays pickleball. My mom plays tennis and pickleball. She's got 2 siblings. She's a middle child. I have 2 siblings. I'm a middle child. Not that those are like, but
but you got stuff to talk about right away.
Yeah.
And you can nod your head and be like,
Yeah. Both of our dads are like big speakers. They're like, well, Corinne's dad does speaking for a living.
That's awesome.
And my dad was in sales, so same thing.
So that's speaking for a living, yeah.
Right. So, but
man, I want to take some school from both of your dads. Like public speaking is something that I really want to get into. And then sales is something that I have no idea how to do, but we have a company. So
there you go.
I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to talk to people. And maybe that'll that's help people come to our camps and courses. Yeah.
No, I feel like you're doing a pretty good job, Mark.
Oh, thanks. Getting there. Maybe. We'll see. But I would love to take some lessons from your dad, who owns a company called Beachbub.
Beachbub. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Beachbub and what it is and how people can get one.
Beachbub stands for Beach Umbrella Base. So we just shortened it and turned it into an acronym. Mm-hmm. But it started as just a base to hold an umbrella from flying away, on a windy day or just on a normal day. But it started from the base and it's kind of taken off. The base was really stable. We had like a lot of people in the early days came back and said, the base is awesome. Where can we get a good umbrella that matches the quality of the base? So my dad was going out and he tells the story so much better than I do, but it also takes him 30 minutes to tell it sometimes because he's got all the details. But anyway, he basically went out, lots of hook points. He basically went out, developed a whole umbrella, a whole system. He's taken goes after one point after another, but all the little weak parts of an umbrella, he's just really, made better, made more sturdy. But the whole concept is it's very similar to a patio umbrella. Where you have a weighted base. It's usually plastic filled with water. And my dad was sitting on the beach one day and saw an umbrella go down the beach and hit someone. He's like, what makes a patio umbrella work so well? And he's like, it's weighted. And he's like, well, we're sitting on the beach and we all have this sand that's heavy. How can we use this to make a base? So basically the base itself is very light. The umbrella is very light and portable. But it's just a triangular tarp. Your umbrella goes down through, there's a hole in the middle just to kind of stabilize the umbrella. You fill it with sand. It holds 120 pounds of sand. And your umbrella it's all connected to the pole. So you're pretty much, you're set for the day. All your weight's there. When you're done, you unhook it, you unload your sand, you walk off with your 10-pound little umbrella.
That's great.
But
you
can get it on Amazon.
Oh yeah? It's on Amazon too?
Yeah, Amazon and their website, Beachbub. But, and you'll see them out at the AVP
cool.
in the players boxes and around. But yeah.
Awesome. Nice to have a
I
little
think it's a
family
great puck.
biz that supports the VB game, and yeah, you got
It's
a
a nice
built-in
mesh.
sponsor, which is
I know.
always nice. Yeah, you can go and submit your expense report for BeachBub.
I will. I will. Yep.
Tax-free travel and tournament fees. I like that.
Exactly.
So Sarah, let's dive back into your path through volleyball and then beach volleyball. So when and why did you start playing indoor and or beach? Were you a beacher first or indoor first?
Definitely indoor first. I grew up in North Carolina. My whole family plays tennis, and my brother's really good at tennis.
At
So
Elon University, is that right?
Yeah, so he played at NC State for a year or two, and then transferred to Elon, kind of the same time that I went in on my recruiting call.
Oh, nice.
So there's a little bit of like who committed first, but I think it was me, and then he just went there the year before I did. But yes, we went to the same school. Yeah, everybody played tennis. He was really, good. It was his thing. I think I wanted my own thing. So I was kind of like, tennis practice. I don't know. I don't want to go. I was like, well, if you're not going to do tennis, got to do something else. So there were volleyball tryouts.
Swing.
Yeah. So I tried out for volleyball and loved it. It was kind of a nice little mesh. Had aspects of tennis. The overhead, the overhead serve.
The arm swing stays, and you could pick up. A number of athletes have come from tennis, and you're just like, I'll put you on a volleyball court, and the serve, and just like at least when they hop and spike, it's just so natural immediately, just because you have that constant overhead high motion already built in. So tennis was my first sport. And,
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got that, like my stupid slice serve that puts some people in trouble, and that's all my second serve. Like all my serves come from some version of tennis. Okay, and then so you went there for indoor.
So I went there for indoor, and it was actually I went there from 2007 to 2010. But there were 2 years that we did a SoCon beach tournament. This was before beach volleyball was like, I guess they were talking about it like my freshman sophomore. Oh, we might make this an NCAA sport. So we did, like, it was in the spring. Everybody, from the SoCon went to like their rec courts and their indoor coach. Everybody just went out for like a week and kind of like learn the rules. Like you're not allowed to tip. That's about. You can't set with or receive. What the very 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 basic rules.
I literally almost got in a fist fight. My first beach volleyball tournament. Me and my brother had both played indoor, and they kept calling us for doubles. And we'd played indoor, and we know that that's like not a double in indoor. And we thought that because we were the new guys, like they were messing with us or stealing points from us, so we like got in their face. And then one of like a little like 55-year-old man was like, guys, I think there's something you're not understanding. There are actual different rules from the two sports. And we're like, huh? Yeah. So we had to calm ourselves down a little bit.
Yeah. It was definitely, I don't know that I hope there aren't that many videos from that tournament, or it would be funny to go back and watch.
That would be awesome. You should do a reaction video on YouTube and just reacts to her first ever beach volleyball game. That would be great.
Yeah, I don't know if there's video, but if there is, entertaining for sure. But yeah, so that was kind of my first experience, and that even more so was like a good combination between tennis and indoor volleyball. And I was like, okay, this is really the sport. This is like the golden sport. I would love to play this.
Was it because it was like more freedom of movement?
So I was a middle.
Okay.
I was a middle. So like as a middle, you're not really in control of the game. You're kind of reacting. You could go in, play the whole front row, maybe like, block, fake, whatever. You may not even get set. You may not touch the ball and you come out.
Yep.
So beach volleyball, it's like, it's a little more. I get to play. I have to play. And I like that about tennis, where you kind of have to, you're the only one on the court. There are no subs. You got to figure it out. If something's not going your way, you got to figure out how to change it as quick as you can.
Right.
So I like that aspect of beach volleyball. Kind of, played some local tournaments, but then went overseas and played 3 years of indoor volleyball.
Denmark and France.
Denmark and France. Nope. 2 years in France.
We were neighbors. I played in Sweden. Maybe we were there a little while.
You played in Sweden?
Sweden and Norway, yeah.
Yeah, it's cold up there.
It
I don't like the cold,
was
but
it was different, but I was kind of envious of Denmark. I don't know.
Denmark was
I think
awesome.
Scandinavia is awesome. I don't
Yes.
like how expensive everything is.
Yeah,
I thought the people were just fantastic. For whatever
I
reason,
agree.
the language was kind of easy to pick up. Danish, I can imagine it being so hard because you're like gargling everything or hurrah,
Yeah.
hurrah, um, but Swedish and Norwegian, I was able to at least be conversational, which
Yeah.
is that's kind of the
I
coolest part. The Americans who go over and they don't learn any part of the language, I'm like, what are you doing?
I learned I learned like a couple words, but everybody in Denmark, even like the older generations, they all spoke English so well. It was
So
a
well.
very easy stepping stone into like living in Europe.
Yeah, yeah. They use words like
Uh,
remarkable and you're like, why do you know that word? Okay, so you're playing indoor,
um,
and then when does beach come along?
so yeah, so I finished indoor, I guess, in 2014, and decided I was just, I didn't want to do it forever. I kind of like had the experience that I wanted. Came back, was living in North Carolina, was helping my brother with his real estate investment company. And there's a local club called Beach South up there. I don't know if you know. Do you know Scott? Have you ever? Nope.
Scott who?
Scott Cass Stevens.
Yes,
Cass Stevens. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
So yeah. So Beach South is his club, but he was like, hey, if you want to coach, we'd love to have you, whatever. So I was, getting more involved in, the training and beach volleyball up there.
Mm.
And it was actually Scott. We were going down to Florida to play a tournament. And he was like, well, it's women's open the first day. If you want to come, I can set you up with a partner. You can play and then we'll coach the next day. And I was like, okay, it's kind of been a minute since I played because in North Carolina, you're not like training back then. You're not
I
really
get
like
it.
training
Yeah.
year round. Yeah.
Still.
So Kaylee Melville had just graduated from Stetson. She had played indoor, and he was like, she needs a partner. Blah 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 blah. I was like,
Mhm.
okay. This girl's like training and playing all the time. Sure, I'll go pop in with her. But yeah, we ended up. I think we took second. I think we played. I want to say we played Kim Hildreth and Kaya in the
Wow.
finals. But it
That
was
was
a
your
good. I mean, it was just
first open level beach tournament?
like, I mean, aside from like a Wilmington or
Oh, screw you.
yeah.
That's your first experience. I got my ass kicked in A and double A for a while. Jesus. Okay.
But
Go on.
Mel's a great defender. We just had a lot of fun, and so the rest of that year she was playing NVL, but she would come up and play a lot of the local stuff with me. Her parents lived in North Carolina, so we just scooted around and just played a bunch of tournaments, did really well, and she was like, "You should just come to Florida and train with me for like a little bit." And yeah, she was pretty convincing, and she basically got me to move there.
That's awesome.
And I ended up staying with her roommate from college, who I had never met, and we ended up living with them for 2 years. And she's one of my like great, awesome friends that to this day we're still great friends. She's about to graduate, get her nurse practitioner
Wow.
degree this weekend.
She's an
so,
awesome
but
person.
yeah, I mean it's well, not Mel, but the girl that she hooked me up with.
Oh, okay. Well, I still think Mel's an awesome person. So.
Yeah, Mel is still out there.
I'm sure this other cat's cool too.
She's cool. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how it all started. And then, do you know Raquel Ferreira?
Yeah.
Yep. So Raquel and Victor were kind of like my first coaches down there. The first season, Kim was playing with Raquel, and I was playing with Raquel, and that was kind of our training group down there.
Nice. It's a small group. You got to have those small, tight groups in Florida because there's not. While the high level is still the highest level, like competitively across the country, there's only like a maximum of 6 people there. So it's probably you're training against the same people all the time if you want quality competition. Whereas once you come out to California, it's like, which of this 30-person list should I call to see if they're available for practice?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting. It was, I guess I kind of like practiced and developed in a very different, place. And the California, I feel like everybody, they switch their training group up a lot. They're always training with different teams. It was kind of nice in Florida where there were other times where Victor would coach us and he would bring his Brazilian team up. So it was like kind of the two of us going back and forth. They weren't really our direct competition. But he could kind of dive into a lot of stuff, as like a foursome of like what we were working on. We could kind of be on like the same same path. And I don't know.
I
It's
think
just
that's
really,
what's missing from pro in California. USA Volleyball's done a lot with their A teams now, where they've got 4 teams that they'll invest in, and they'll bring all the coaches there. But they didn't do it long enough. They didn't do it early enough, and there's still not the pipeline that gets the at least from the men's side there to say we are all working on this together and
right.
going forward. And all of the pros, it's so, what's the word, it's cannibalistic almost, because you want to train against other people, but you don't want to train against them too often, because you
Right.
think you want to diversify your enemies so that you can become equipped to battle a different person. And you also don't want them to learn your game too well. And you're also
Right.
always seeing if you could train against the next highest better team, instead of,
And it's,
dude,
yeah,
it's about you.
right.
It's not about them. How good can you get? Can you keep your focus? And I think California misses that because of how many good players we have here. It's almost a bad situation.
Well, and I just, so much of what I liked about it was we kind of went in and we're building on our own program. We have our own routine. When you go practice with another team, it's okay, whose coach is running the practice? You don't necessarily, sometimes they're well, what do you want to work on? And it's just, I don't know, you lose a little bit of on practice plan, where your coach is this is how we're building you from this part of the season to here. And it's very, very progressive, and you've got those stepping stones, and it's week in, week out. I mean, it's nice for sure to compete against different teams, but I don't necessarily think you need it every day, or not even every week.
I have a theory that American volleyball for beach would improve if you developed 3-team clubs in the AVP.
Okay.
Instead of everybody always going against each other. So those 3, you practice together, you develop a plan, you set yourself forth, and then it's actually affordable. Instead of 2 people trying to pay 1 full-time coach, now you've got 6 people paying a full-time coach, so that coach actually they can survive. They can give you the time to go into film with you, to go into your lifting program, to go into this. But when 2 people are outside the top 3 rankings, they cannot afford a full-time coach. And we lose because of that. And then only USA Volleyball only supports the stipend for the top 3 teams, ish, give or take.
Yeah.
So I think there's still something left to be desired for what USA is allowing, for where the level can get for Americans. And I think NCAA on the women's side has taken care of that. Where
and
you guys are going to be kicking ass globally, but guys, I think
but that is what about the college game is that you have that camaraderie, and everybody is kind of working together. And so what if this person's strengths or weaknesses, or again, like you said, it comes back to how you're going to perform. Some tendencies or whatever, but it's basically you managing your own game over here. But it's nice to see the camaraderie. It's nice to see more than just 2 people cheering for themselves. And
a lot of times in our world, it becomes 1 person cheering for yourself and just wondering if your partner's going to leave. And who he or she is texting, after a rough practice. True. So let's just go back to kind of your career. Do you think that there were any to get to a final in AVP is unbelievable. To get a medal in FIVB is unbelievable. Now, do you think that there was a significant exact point that you go, this was the most crucial time in my volleyball career? Was it Kaylee, who just brought you to the sand? Was it Scott inviting you to coach sand? Or was it before that, during indoor?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think the moment where I was okay, beach volleyball is something that I could do was when we played those SoCon tournaments.
How old were you then?
How old was I? 19 or 20.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, all right. So in college, you were still
in college
up on the beach and indoor. Okay.
That was my first ever experience with playing beach was that SoCon beach tournament. And I was a sophomore. So what are you as a sophomore? 19 or 20. And I don't know. I just think I kind of always kept an open mind, that if an opportunity kind of present itself, that I, and it was and it made sense or it was the right timing, that I would, pursue it a little bit. So I think I've just been very, just an open book kind of, like I think when Ron and Victor were my coaches, which I think I was very spoiled to have such high caliber coaches when I was, just entering, that were able
in a
to kind of
small environment. Oh
yeah, I know. So I mean, I think things just kind of like fell in place, but at the same time, I think I just was, just trying to be a sponge and absorb as much as I could with an open mind and just take it one step at a time. And it was like, okay, well, if this makes sense, I don't think I moved to Florida to be like, hey, I'm going to be an FIVB, AVP pro.
Just want to play some volleyball.
I just want to play some volleyball and learn and see if that's something that, I'm capable of doing. And that's just kind of been my mindset from the get-go. Like, kind of still is my mindset. I think it's literally one day at a time. See what opportunities, present themselves and make the most of them.
It's cool to hear that, like, the root of it came from, and I've been big on this lately, community developers, people who put on tournaments, who put on leagues, who just start classes locally, who run, for us, like we run our volleyball vacations. But to say that the availability of playing on the sand for you may have created, a major chapter in your life, and what gives you so much enjoyment, just because, somebody was putting on a tournament, putting
Right.
on a league. I think those people are underappreciated. Guys like Rich Hylas, and Wayne Gant from Great American Volleyball, and anybody who's got like 2 courts outside of a bar and decides to just at least create a list and a bracket for a tournament. Like,
right.
Yeah, you're a community organizer. You've grown something, and somebody might find their future here. And I think that's
true. I haven't actually ever thought about that. I don't know who actually ever was, the minds behind putting, running that for 2 years, but I do owe them a great thanks. So whoever that was.
We'll find them. Guys, comment.
We need to find them, yeah.
Who was running? What was it? SoCon?
So the SoCon was, it had like Elon Furman, UNCG, who else? Wofford. There were just a couple. Brandon Fuller was playing at UNCG at the time. So she had some beach experience, and then there was a girl on my team from Orange County, California. So there were like 2 or 3 players in there that like knew, were a little more familiar with beach volleyball for sure. And then the rest of us were just, playing indoor on the sand.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not a bad way to go. I think more people can bring their indoor game better to sand. Just learn how to rip fingertips off when you need to, when you're in trouble. Like that's a nice little move. But indoor sand. So what do you think in terms of becoming a beach volleyball player? What do you think are the 2 most important attributes? They can be mental or physical, but the 2 most important attributes of a successful player.
I go to the mental side of things. I would say for me, one of the big ones is like finding the positive in a situation. It kind of goes hand in hand with like being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Because I just think there's so much that can go wrong. There's, you've got waves and ups and downs all the time, and it's such a fast sport. That if you can just if you can focus on the positives and pull those out of every situation, then you keep building on those, and you kind of stay in that headspace. So I think that's just an important way of keeping a good mindset as you're.
I hold people apparently on this show to giving actual direct examples, because that's that whole thing of like being mentally strong, turn negatives into positives. Right. What was another one that we had recently? Mentally tough. Emotional intelligence. Like, these are words that I say, guest, I apologize, but you're gonna have to dive a little deeper and give me a direct example of what you mean when you say turn something positive or be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Well, positive one for me is just the way you kind of communicate on the court. I'm communicating to my partner, and I'm like, I want to change the strategy.
Okay.
And I'm really frustrated with maybe something my partner's doing, and maybe she's hitting line and they're just digging her line. So I could kind of go two ways. I could be like, stop shooting the line. Like, they're there, whatever. Or I can give her a little bit more positive thing and say, hey, she's running to the line a lot. You know, the cut's open, like the deep, hard swing middle. Like, instead of just saying this is what you don't have or putting the attention on what's not going well, why not give some positive feedback? I just think the brain does what you tell it to do. If you say, don't think of an elephant, an elephant. But if you direct somebody and you say, hey, think of Steph Curry twirling a ball in his finger. Whatever you say is what people are going to think. Whether you put the do or the don't in front of it doesn't really matter to our brain, I don't think. So, you know, just always trying to communicate in a way that's like what we want to happen, what I want to happen, and to my partner. And I think, you know, just that kind of that understanding, I think that's a big part on the court. So, you know, whether it's communicating or whether I'm, you know, self-talk to myself, the same sort of thing. You know, if I just pass the ball tight, what's the point in saying, God, that was too tight? When just say, hey, I'm going to pass this ball a little bit farther off next time.
And I think that when you're talking, the communication, when you're saying like, hey, don't hit line anymore, that doesn't give good instruction. You know, people want to learn what's available, what they can do. They don't want to, nobody wants to hear what they can't do.
Well,
people
also you're leaving so many options open. Like, I can hit the ball on the court over there. I can shoot, I can swing, I can tool off the block. Like, yeah, I've limited options of what I now, okay, I've eliminated one option. So I can't shoot the line. What, like, okay, so now what am I supposed to do?
Right. Like, let's hit 2 cut shots right now just to hold her so that we have that line at the end of the match. You know, like little kind of maybe tricky, but a little bit more positive way of putting it. And me and Chad's hanging out here as well. We're talking yesterday about I know. When somebody says when somebody says, hey, hit that cut shot, and she says I know, or she says, oh yeah, I know, I'll do that. You know, like there's such a different tone between when you say I know or like, yeah, I know. Okay. And it'll be received a different way. It'll create a whole different vibe between you and your partners. But that statement of I know, that is a quick way to never get feedback from your partner ever again. And then you're not sharing information and you're done.
Right.
You know, the way you say I know, I think is very
the way
crucial.
You say I know. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of like, I mean, just touching on communication again, I feel like even when you know, are calling a shot, or maybe, you know, you're on serve receive and you're calling, you know, mine and yours. But let's just go back to the shot. You know, you can be telling your partner like line, or you could be like line, you know, and like sometimes if you just, you know, the way you say something, you can really like make your partner, you know, act in a different way. But it's all, you know, seems like little nuances, but they're all, I think, very important things to pay attention to and, you know, practice. It's important to practice, you know, how you're communicating with your partner, how your tone affects your partner. You know, maybe something too aggressive makes sure you just swing 110%, and that's not necessarily good either. So I think
you don't want to get them too mad because maybe they're terrible when they're aggressive.
So they're just important things to, you know, think about, and you know, practice isn't just, you know, the skill and like, you know, the touching of the ball all the time. There's a lot more that goes into it.
We just like a little kind of side note for a little tool that we have that we use while we're talking about it. We have a thing on betteratbeach.com, and I think you should try it. It's called betteratbeach.com/partner profile. What it does is it makes you answer certain questions about yourself. And really, I stole half of the answers and just converted them from a marriage counseling book. You know, I read a few books like on marriage and relationships before I got married. I was like, I'm going into this for the rest of my life. You better damn well know I'm going to research it and be good at it. You know, I'm not going to be crap on marriage on day one. Like, let's go. So I went to the marriage gym and got my 1 rep max up. But we developed, if you guys are looking for it, it's called betteratbeach.com/partner profile. And it forces you to answer questions about yourself that you probably don't think about. Like, for you, Sarah, what's the number one way to fire you up? Just give me like 5 words or a sentence that, you know, excite you or put you in a good mood.
That put me in a good mood. I would say, I'm just going to touch, because I'm in this partnership right now with Corinne. I feel like we just say things that like make each other like giggle. I know that sounds silly, but like we just like laugh a lot back and forth. And it's nice to go into a match or practice just kind of in a good mood.
Right.
Doesn't matter what's happening, we can make jokes, but then I feel like we both can kind of get into that zone. But I think first and foremost, we want to go out and have fun and like enjoy what we're doing. Like we get this opportunity to play beach volleyball, so I think it's just like, all right, here's another opportunity. I'm excited. I'm happy to play this sport. I'm going to go out here and have fun and enjoy what I'm doing. And it's just, I think both of us are kind of in that same place. So that honestly, just like going out there and be like, okay, we're just going to go have fun. Let's, do what we've trained this. We know what we need to do. It's literally get to go out here and enjoy what we've worked so hard to do. Let's just go enjoy.
Is there a wrong time to try to make you giggle? Like if you just got blocked 3 or 4 times in a row, am I supposed to tell you a joke as your partner or tickle you? I'm not gonna tickle you.
It's got to be the right. Again, those are like the nuances you kind of have to like understand with your partner, because there are definitely.
I think talk about, not understand is tough to tell people. Like you have to know when. Nobody knows when you want something in your head emotionally, and that's like, so if it's not the time to laugh anymore when you're being pushed around on the court, somebody has to know that.
Right. I haven't quite run into that.
You've just never been stopped. I get it. Yeah.
In this partnership, I haven't really run into that. But there are definitely times in the past where you're like, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Tough.
It's a tough.
Sounds like you don't have an answer. Oh, you got some little.
Yeah, I don't have. I know, but great. Yeah.
Well, what's the best thing to tell you? So this is like the next question. Like, and if again, guys, if you want to check out this, we're not putting Sarah on the hot spot for more than one more question. But if you do want to check it out for you and your partner, it's super valuable. Just betteratbeach.com/partner profile, and there's a bunch of leading questions to discover what your game is about and what your emotional mindset is about, so you can share that with your partner and then both get a feed. So it sounds like the answer that one of the questions on the profile says, what's the best way to start your engines? And for you, it sounds like having a good time. Get me laughing, get me in a positive mood. Whereas, some guys might be like, punch me in the chest 13 times, and that'll make me like want to kill somebody, and that's how I play well. So what would be a turn off for you? What is the absolute wrong word or trigger if you're, for your partner to tell you after you got blocked or dug 3 times in a
row? Like kind of going back to like, the like we can't do this anymore, or that's not working, or it's just something that's like open-ended where you didn't really offer a solution there. You just kind of reinforce that, that I can see that's not working. Like that doesn't really help me if you tell me that's not working. I thank you. Don't like, I'm not.
Wow. I forgot we lost that point.
Yeah.
So bringing that up.
I think I'm a smart person. I think I can analyze and realize that, it's not successful. So yeah, I think just something that we're kind of like undermines or questions like your intelligence or your capabilities on the court, maybe. So again, that kind of goes back to just really trusting your partner, trusting that I know what they're capable of, they know what I'm capable of, and speaking to each other and communicating in a way that's, like if they make a joke or something, it's like, it's not that like, I don't think you're not capable, or it's kind of maybe like, oh shoot, that was just a really good block, and maybe that's why we laughed, not like a dumb move on your part, or it's tricky, and they're just those little nuances and connotations and just the way you communicate.
So would a safe default for you be keep ripping, you got this?
Yeah, exactly. Just keep it positive.
Okay. And you don't want somebody to try to find a solution, like to tell you a certain hit at that point, or what's open, or to tell you to breathe, or to give you like technical feedback. Last bit would be like, okay, so the safe default is to tell you to do something positive, but you don't want technical feedback when you're in trouble?
It could be technical if it's like like maybe someone's
If it's
like
a
getting
do
by.
instead of a don't do.
Yeah, like they're swinging line. If someone's kind of beating me on the line, it's like they keep going line. Maybe just that that one more step and really like seal that line. Like you got it. Just reach that hand line.
Okay.
So it could be.
Okay,
I could
so
take
you
technical.
have it
It's just,
if instead of do this or don't do this.
right.
Is the best way maybe to
I'm not
communicate.
a big fan of the don't do this.
Okay.
That's a big turnoff to me.
I think for a lot of people that is,
Yeah.
and people go through it constantly, and they're just like, all right, well, what am I gonna do then, and
Right.
again, the going back to like that one thing where it's, don't tell me what I can't do. Now I'm gonna try to prove you wrong.
Exactly.
Unless
it kind of gets you in that
your
mindset.
partner so well that like you love like the tri-born, where it's like, tell me I can't.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But that belongs to come from somebody else, maybe not your partner. But if
Yeah.
you know that person next to you loves the challenge, like you won't hit over him right now. I bet you can't hit over him straight down, just to try to get him to reach higher.
Yeah.
It's
still different, but that's still got like playful, positive connotation. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So knowing what words set you off, knowing what reactions set you off, if you don't know them as a player, you have to learn them. If you as a coach don't know them for each individual player, you're not being a coach.
Yeah.
Especially long term. Like short term, okay, you only got so much time, but through a season, if you don't know that when you say, hey, you're being really lazy right now, that for me, that's my trigger. If a coach calls me lazy, like that's literally the one thing in my life that I've prided myself on never being my entire life. Like I will always work. If as soon as you call me lazy, I don't have respect for you as a coach anymore, because I know that you're blind.
Right.
So that's my trigger word for sure.
Right. Anything that kind of like puts in doubt like who you are as a person. Yeah, like it's a turnoff. It's like, okay, maybe you don't really know me, and then it's hard.
And then trust is broken.
That trust is exactly.
Cool. Okay, we'll get you off the hot seat. But if anybody else wants the partner profile, betteratbeach.com/partner profile. Really cool thing to go through to just discover some things about yourself. There are some questions that like you saw here that they're going to take you a little bit of time to think about. And you're probably going to have to think about like what partners pissed you off the most in your life, your career, and what exactly they said and when they said it during that time, just to figure it out so that you could at least warn the next partner of the baggage that you carry.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So coming as a middle, let's go back to the indoor to beach transition. And maybe this is just current, but what do you think, what skill or technique has been the hardest for you to learn or master along your journey? What's the most painful?
Yeah, I would. Okay. So I mean, just initially when I first kind of started training in Florida with Raquel and Victor, footwork as a blocker was just so different. Because as a middle, it was just very much like turn and go, like, read where the set's going, turn, run, get there, close the block. So the whole concept of like little adjustment steps and kind of staying, facing the net the whole time and lining up at the block. I remember working on that for months where it was like, I'd up and I thought I did a good job. And then my coach was like, all right, what was wrong? I was like, the lineup, I guess. I don't know.
Perfect,
I was like,
right?
I was like, was the lineup not good? Was it not there? And they were like, yeah, no. So, I mean, just that concept, I think, was different. And footwork I remember we worked a lot on just like footwork along the net. And kind of, I mean, you have a little bit more, you have that time to kind of like front somebody and kind of, jump and go. As a middle, you're just literally like, as soon as you land, you're just trying to close the block. So that was definitely a skill that we worked on a lot.
So if you could dive into like the shuffle and adjustment steps for those people who are a 6'6" player,
right?
What do you mean by adjustment steps as a blocker?
So I think for me, like again, when at least when I block at the net, I always kind of have one foot forward. Because
really?
Again,
okay.
You're ready to pull. So as if I'm moving to let's just say this side, then I have this foot forward a little bit, and I'm kind of leading, with this foot.
Okay. So if you're on the left side of the court, your left foot would be forward. If you're on the right side of the court, your right foot would be forward.
If I'm moving, kind of my leaf foot is always a little bit forward. And then if I decide I want to block, then I kind of close that other step in and go block. Or, if you're ready to pull, then you kind of drop that foot back. But you're kind of a little bit like weighted, on that lead foot a little bit. Whereas I think, indoor, it's so explosive and so quick. You don't have that time where you can take that little adjustment step. But yeah, they're a little bit small and just kind of like going with that lead foot. And that just takes me into pulling as well. Like as a middle, you don't ever pull. So what is pulling? That's been fun.
Yeah. That can be. Pulling is another level of adding to your game. I think for Alex Kleinman, like when she added that to her game, then it was pretty much over. Her ability she didn't have that her first, I guess, year and a half on tour, and then she just started peeling a lot more consistently and picking people up easily with her hands defense. I think hands defense is so important for women.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think that they're less likely to, as they're coming up through the game, to want to use it because of the strict calling with carries, hard driven balls. Women have like less upper body strength, so you can have a B woman player and a B guys player, and there can be a B level guy player who can mash a ball. But you don't really see that out of like a B level woman, and so you don't get the practice at the lower levels of using your hands.
Right. No, that's true for sure.
I have a side question, but I know my answer to this, but how do you explain the difference between guy blocking and girl blocking when most women, I would say, start in the stagger step, like you're saying, with 1 foot back, and all men start straight up, squared up to the net? Why is there a difference there?
Straight up and squared up. Yeah. The guys hit a lot. The guy's net is a little bit higher. So, I mean, I think shots have you've got a little bit more time to run things down. Maybe the defenders. I don't think the guys pull as much. I don't think they pull as much. So I think, I don't know, there are a lot of guys that kind of go real, real deep and they just try to get up and go really high. I mean, everyone's jumping so high. I think they just get up, really just want to press and take away that hard driven ball. I think guys swing more than girls.
I think so. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think from a guy's standpoint, there are dudes that can still, from 12 feet off, hammer and just like still take your defender's head off. And there's just that less likely that guys are going to peel. Maybe guys should peel more.
Yeah,
I don't know, but they definitely don't. And there's definitely a power difference, between the two games. But it's always interesting to see, like, women always start with the 1 foot off the net. And does that mess with the lineups? Does that make the lineups better, or does it just leave more access to peeling, which is more likely to happen in the women's game? It's always intriguing to me to see the guys completely squared up, feet next to each other, and women always in the like ready to run stance.
A little bit of stagger. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Something to look at. And I really want to do that full study of, let's take the next AVP tournament and just count the number of peels on the women's side, number of peels on the men's side. And
that'd be a good stat.
At least have that stat.
Yeah. What's stopping you? What's holding you back? It's coming up. 1 week.
Okay. So the shuffle steps and the lineups for blocking were probably, you think, the hardest, most like pain in the butt thing for you to learn. Was there something that made it easy, or was it just having the coach discuss it with you?
I just think I think the whole like first month or two that I was down there, I don't even think we hit the ball. I think it was a lot of like very basic fundamental technique stuff. So it was just really take our time and build from the bottom up. Like there's no point in going like live if you don't have those fundamentals. And that was, they made it very clear that, there's no point in me teaching or talking about part D or C or, whatever, if you're still here in A. So it was just very much a building process. But yeah, setting was also a fun one too.
Are you a hand setter or a bump setter currently?
Bump setter, I break out the hands occasionally. But I think just the whole concept of like spacing when you're setting and really like lifting and using your legs was interesting. But again, I kind of jumped into a group that was beach for a while. So for me, it was really nice to be able to go through like setting rotations again, both the girls I played with were defenders, so I didn't really have that on the blocking side, but definitely on the setting side, just to go through setting rotations where I could watch them do something, and then I got to go do it. I just think visualization is huge, and I was like, okay, I could just see their movements and try to mimic it.
What did you mean when you said spacing? If you're kind of describing this to a B or an A player, how do you space yourself as a setter?
Well, yeah, so spacing and squaring to the net, I guess would be two. They kind of go together. But I think a lot of times we tend to run to the ball and then try to contact it. But when we're setting, we want to be able to move through the ball. So it's kind of, as your partner's setting, you kind of want to move to a spot that's, 2 feet behind the ball so that you have space there to have your platform and then move through the ball, because that's, you get to, your partner reads so much from your body on how you're setting. So it gives you room to actually square and be facing, and they can kind of read the ball off your arm, off your body, where you're not turning. You're very much just square with the ball in front of you, and then you just move through it.
And when you say square, for a lot of us, maybe this just comes from a personal point. Somebody told me square up, I think maybe for 2 years, and I had no idea what square actually meant. I just heard it, and I was like, kind of assumed. But you mean face with your chest, toes, knees, hips, towards where you want to set?
Correct.
Okay. And where do you teach your players, if you were coaching yourself or some other place, where do you teach them to square up to? Are you an antenna person? Are you a face the sideline, or are you to where you want to set?
I would say I'm more to where I want to set. And again, if it's kind of, it kind of depends on where you are on the court. So I would to where you're going to set. The only time when you're not, well, and I guess you are, going to square where you're set, but if you've got a really tight ball, that was, again, another big thing that I worked on. If you're maybe 8 to 10 feet off the net, or 7 to 10 feet off the net, in that range, you're going to be facing the net a little bit more with your shoulders to set an up and down ball, versus when you go inside, anywhere from like tight on the net to kind of about 7 feet, I would say is kind of when, at least for me, when I turn completely and I'm facing the sideline of the court. So it's that's a big ball that is passed kind of on the 7 to 8 foot line is a tricky ball. You're like, do I go ahead and turn all the way, or am I still facing and I just have to have my arms higher so that ball kind of goes straight up?
Yeah.
But
no, I've just heard a few different methods on, like Pre with Optimum. She was always preaching. I hear her say, it says peak pole set hold, or peak pole lift hold, where she says like square up to the antenna every time. To me, I think that's just a simplification where it gets you in the right area of lined up, and it's a nice key because it gives you something physical that you can make your body go to.
Right.
More specifically, I ask my players, I say square up to exactly where you want to set. Often where you want to set is on the way to the antenna, so that works out consistently. It really does.
Right.
And having a physical object that you need to point your belly button to is a really nice key for people to have. But I still think of it like kind of NBA. If you're shooting in the NBA, you pull up, you face the basket, and you release. It's not like you're going to like face sideways from the 3-point line and throw it off of your shoulder unless you're in trouble.
Right.
So in terms of accuracy, I think it's just, where do you want the ball to go? That's where you line up. But that's just our school.
But and I think the biggest thing to take away from that is, wherever you line up, just set the ball there, because that's going to be the easiest thing for your partner to read a certain way. And then you're shoveling, like you said, if you're at the 3-point line and you shoot a ball this way, one, you're not going to be very accurate, consistent, and no one's going to know what you're doing, which you want your partner in this case to know what you're doing, because they're the one that's going to be hitting what's coming off your arms. So when we're hitting, we can be a little more discreet, but when we're setting, we want to be very readable, I think.
I agree. And people don't realize how they throw off their hitter's timing by different speed of touches, different speed of leg lift, different speed of platform lift.
Contact, where you contact the ball, whether you contact it high or low.
Right. And then the fun stuff when you get to that next level of how can I control time by sinking and getting low before the touch, or
Right.
accelerating the play and setting from a higher, faster point. That's when
Yep.
you get into the weeds, and it's tough to explain that to a B player. But that's when it
It
gets
is.
real fun.
Yeah. And it's tough. It's tough to train it too sometimes because it's so picky. It's like, well, that set, I mean, again, looks perfect. Like it hit the right spot, it went to the right height, whatever. But, if you contact it lower versus, higher and it's going to the same spot, you're giving more time in there. And that is going to be different for your hitter approaching the ball. Like
Yeah.
if they're coming all the way from the end line and they're running towards the ball, if I can contact that ball lower, I can still kind of give my partner a low set. It doesn't have to be super high, but I can give her time with a low set versus giving time with a super sky high ball.
Yeah. And it's like, we talk about rhythm so much. People talk about rhythm. That is so hard to define,
It
the
is.
rhythm of a set. But if you imagine that however you look when you set, somebody should be able over time to predict at what point in your set the ball is going to come off and what speed it's going to come off of, so that they can almost like dance with you, or we call it like jumping into a double dutch,
Yeah.
like you have to time it, and the timing of the double dutch person, the people who's holding the ropes, that has to be consistent so that you know when you can jump in. And for setters, if you jerk when you set, if you like make a fast movement, or the next time you make a really slow movement, or sometimes you have super fast hands, or sometimes you have super slow hands, you're changing the speed of those ropes. And then whoever's trying to get into your double dutch or trying to tango with you, they don't know when they should get in that dance.
Yep, for sure. It's a tricky thing.
Tricky. Dancing's
Tricky.
tough.
It's tough. Yeah.
Not for Chad. Chad gave a big cough back here. So, we've been reeling. We're gonna throw a few more reels coming out here. We're very excited about our reel game. Yeah, you'll see. It's the next hot thing to hit Instagram.
Yeah. Okay. I'll be on the lookout. I love a good reel.
So, Sarah, do you have any warnings for people who are trying to get to the position you are in, or like if you looked at Sarah from the last 10 years ago, anything that you would say, hey, just don't fall into this, don't do this, or this is going to be rough?
For me, again, my whole process has been one step at a time. One of my goals in life is just balance and everything in moderation. And then I would say another thing is just like finding joy and happiness in the journey and the process. I think if you're missing that part, no goal is really worth it if the day-to-day is so, if you can't find the joy and the happiness in that. Because I think when it doesn't matter, you win a medal, you win a tournament, that lasts, just for like a little bit. But everything that you built and you put into that, those are the defining moments. That's what kind of made you that player that was capable of winning something, winning that title. So I think it's really important to be proud of the process and proud of the journey and what you do, like day in and day out, the little stuff, because that's what makes you, a champion at the end of the day, when you're able to use those skills to showcase it and actually win something. So I think winning the actual medal or the trophy, it's great and it's fun, but ultimately it's the journey, it's the process, and you've got to learn from that day in and day out, and you've got to enjoy it. So
do you have any
that's my focus.
Little places where you go, things you say, or activities that you do at the days or times when it becomes consistently unenjoyable? For me, it's always a big long trip to another country or a camping site. Like once I can get into nature and be completely alone and do like literally days of writing, I usually come back from those refreshed. But do you have anything where it wasn't going well for long enough and you took a breather or a method to say, how do I enjoy this again?
Yeah, I think for me, family is just huge. My sister just had her second kid. Yeah, I have two little nephews. Yeah, and they're great. I've been with my husband. We've been together for 15 or 16 years.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, I just have a really great support system. I work with my brother. I'm really close with my parents, and they've kind of been a guide. My dad, kind of coached us in tennis, but he really understands like the mental part of sports, whether or not he's able to coach. It doesn't really matter what the sport is. I feel like he could be on the sideline and kind of coach anybody, just because it's less about the skill, about your mindset and your composure on the court, how you handle yourself, how you deal with a loss, how you deal with a win. So I don't know, having that really solid support system, and I've had really awesome coaches that kind of mimic and have some of the same components that, you know, my dad was able to teach from a young age. So for me, family's huge. Just being able to spend some quality time with them.
So is that like you just go and you're just like, you know what, I'm exhausted, and you don't use them, but you say like, hey, family, want to have a barbecue day or a lake day or a boat day? Is it something like that, or you just like a call and a text and you just know that they've got your back?
Yeah, sometimes it's just it's a phone call. I've had lots and lots of phone calls with my dad. They turn into like hour-long phone calls, but he just constantly surprises me with, you know, different sports analogies and stories that he's had, you know, from sales, whether they're other stories. But he's just got a whole wealth of knowledge. I should be writing, when he talks to me, I should just be writing this stuff down, because he's told me so many cool stories in this chapter of my life that, you know, maybe he didn't even tell me when I was playing tennis and indoor volleyball. A lot of really cool stories and information and advice from him over the last couple of years. It's been really cool. And he's, you know, they're very supportive of my journey and what I'm doing. So that's definitely helpful. You know, if you don't have that, then I think it would definitely be easier to fall out, you know, when you go through rough times. So yeah.
Sounds like your friends dealt a nice hand in the family department. It sounds like you're playing it right.
Yeah, I was.
All right. Well, hey, our last two questions before we let you run back to your volleyball life is: are there any tools or equipment that are must-haves for you at home, in the gym, on the court, or on the road?
Like physical tools?
And like your favorite bracelet, or you know. I don't know.
Actually, one of my favorite tools as of recently is my electric ball pump. That is clutch, and I've become kind of a ball pressure.
Oh, you're one of the snobs.
I'm one of those. I've turned into one. I know, it's terrible.
It's not 3.8 PSI.
Well, no, it's tough in California and Florida sometimes if you have, you know, a really hot day and then like a cool day, and you get a big adjustment. But no, I'm a ball snob to a certain extent. I have my electric ball pump to thank for that. But it is nice when you're traveling and you know, you deflate your ball to travel, and then you get there and Corinne's over there pumping her ball up, and I'm like, just press the button and mine's
sucker
inflating. Yeah, I'd lend it to her. But that's a big one for me. Tripod is big, especially with an online coach. Bands, you know, just your typical warm-up band. And then
do you use the string? Do you use the hip bands? Do you have heavy bands, like the big thick power bands, or just one skinny arm band and one circle band?
I have one circle band and one just like TheraBand.
Okay.
And then I have 2 cups that I take with me. They're the little
for cupping.
Yeah, silicone
nice.
Cups. Yeah,
nice.
I'm trying to think if that's it. And then ibuprofen, you know.
No.
I'm not a big ibuprofen person, but you know, just it's in there just in case.
Yeah, I agree. I'm currently living with 2 physical therapists, and we've had lots of inflammation discussions and talks, and It's like, those are for when you need to perform or you need to get out of pain.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll break down things over time, and they also inhibit the cellular process of inflammation, but your body needs acute inflammation for injury repair. But if you're at the point where it's like, hey, this is the championship, I need to be here right now, and I don't need to feel pain to hold me back, I think that's a good time for ibuprofen. But if you're like me and you were popping them like M&Ms in college and indoor pro, don't do that to yourself.
I used to be like, I would say I used to take like under 5 or 10. I'm like under 10 a year.
Oh, nice.
Like that was kind of my. I've maybe taken a few more this year, but you know. But yeah, just if you need, I'm not like I feel a little bit of pain, I'm gonna pop something. I kind of like my body to kind of feel it out, to kind of understand where my baseline is. I feel like if you just keep taking ibuprofen all the time, you lose that.
Yeah. And secretly, it just destroys the inside of your stomach.
Yeah, it's not good for you. Yeah.
No, I was
yeah.
on 8 a day for a while.
Ooh.
Which is, oh yeah, 1600, like prescription strength, self-prescribed. I was like, maybe something is wrong about this.
Yeah, that's not a good place to be. That's not a good place to be.
And lastly, are there any projects outside of volleyball that you're working on right now that you want people to know about, or you got kind of in the works?
No, not. I mean, I kind of my brother, my brother-in-law, and my husband are all they're building houses in North Carolina, and I help with that a little bit on the side, some remote stuff. And my dad's got Beachbub going on. And I'm just kind of focused on traveling. We might be gone for like a month and a half. So
busy year for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then just, focus good aunt. That's the other. All my sister's kids, my friends' kids, and just Auntie Scherm.
Yeah. And they're gonna look at you like a superhero anyway, which is awesome. Yeah, that's always cool. Yeah, my 2 nieces, they just started playing volleyball. And it's
that's so fun.
Super fun. And they found out that a few of their like coaches like know who our company is and who I am, and they get like a little extra credit there.
Yep.
But it's so fun to see them picking it up and to be able to play with them. Oh yeah, man. It's cool seeing little kids pick up the sport and just be addicted to it right off the bat, where they're just running around the house, just bumping to themselves.
Yeah.
Love it.
Knocking things over, but whatever.
Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things.
Taylor Swift.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much. I know we went a little bit over time. I appreciate you taking the time to share your knowledge and help out a bunch of players and do this episode.
Thanks for having me. I hope I was able to shed a little light on, little tidbits of my volleyball life with everybody. So. Oh
man, you gave so many good tips for anybody who can listen and just like pick it up right there. We keep talking to our players and they're like, oh, I listened to this episode on the way to practice, on the way to league night, and I applied it immediately. So just from your setting tips and at least your like block adjustment and communication, somebody's going to listen to this and they're going to apply it immediately, and they're going to be better for it, and they're going to be happy that we got you on. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
For sharing that.
Thanks, Mark, for having this podcast and spreading your knowledge with everybody. Your videos are great. Your videos pop up all the time, and I think they're awesome. Like I said, my husband would watch them when he was when he first kind of started playing. I would tell him things. He doesn't always want to hear them from me, but then you would say it on your reel, and I would just be like, here's Mark. Mark said it. And then he goes and does it. So
nice.
I appreciate it too.
Happy to subversively coach your husband for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, and we'll see you on the sand.
Appreciate it.